of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
WOKB, Winter Garden, Orlando.
Welcome to another edition of Real Family Talk. Hello. Welcome to another edition of Real Family Talk. This is your host, Jay Real. I hope everybody's having a great evening out there in Orlando tonight. We have pretty good weather in here in Orlando tonight, considering, man. It's been some humid nights, but tonight kind of felt pretty good, man. Had a good time riding back on I-4 as I rushed to get here minutes before the start of the show tonight. But that's what you do sometimes. But, man, I want to go ahead and welcome everybody in the building tonight. We got Miss McCrae's in the building. How you doing, Miss McCrae?
I'm blessed. It's Tuesday.
Oh, okay. We got Miss Monica's in the building. How you doing, Miss Monica?
Great. How are you doing, J Real? I'm
doing pretty good. Mr. King's here. How you doing, Mr. King?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
I got a comment on that. I'm going to leave that to myself right now. What's up, Jerry? How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. How y'all doing out there?
We got Jason Henry's in the building tonight as well. How you doing, Jason?
I'm good, my brother. How about yourself?
Oh, man, I'm doing pretty good, man. Yeah, so Jason's going to have a segment in a moment. He's going to have a guest calling in. But to kick it off, man, it is football season, and we would be remiss if every week we didn't acknowledge all of the good games that happened over the weekend.
Not that game yesterday.
The game yesterday was
Are y'all 0-2?
Not a happy moment for me, but that's okay. It's the Steelers, man. We're gonna be all right, man. We're gonna be all right. Even if we have a down year this year, come next year, we're gonna have it together, man.
And then what I said last year.
That's okay. At the end of the day, look at the championships. Where are they? There you go. That's all I'm gonna say right there.
They in Baltimore.
We're gonna be all right. Last year's championship is in Baltimore, but quite a few of them are resting in a case in the Steelers' home. But that's okay. Like I said, we'll be all right, man. I'm surprised at the Eagles, man. I thought, Vic did have a great game. Great fantasy points for Vic this weekend. Almost 30 points for Vic this weekend. So, but yeah, man, they lost. I'm surprised. I didn't think San Diego was going to put much of a challenge to those guys.
Well, I'm an Eagles fan. I'm a Mike Vick fan. And I really blame the defense. It was the defense that didn't step up and hold the Chargers to where they was at, and the Chargers just stepped up and just took over the defense. And basically, you can't blame it on Mike Vick. You really have to look at their defense and say, hey, y'all need to step up.
Now, Jason, I think you're a Cowboys fan, right?
I don't like to say that in public, but
last Sunday he was in church, so obviously while he must go to a Pentecostal church because at 1 o'clock he was apparently still in church. But he said he came out of church only to find that his agent was calling him like, "Hey man, Pouncey went down. They calling you. They want you to come and play for the team." So last week he was in church on Sunday. This week he was starting on Monday Night Football. As a center for the Steelers.
Won't he do it?
Yes, he will.
That's pretty cool, man. That is pretty cool, man. I was like, all right, I like that little story. But, man, we'll be all right, man. Football season, I'm just happy football season's here. If the Steelers win, the Steelers don't win. Of course, I want them to win, but if it's a bad season this year, that'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Steelers do that, though.
They'll
have a few years down, and then they'll come back.
Exactly. We got to get some good, some talented wide receivers out there. Emmanuel Sanders is pretty good, but there's no Plexico Burris.
You don't have a running game.
Antonio
that
Brown.
Too, yeah. But we don't have a line, so,
you don't really have much of anything, to be
honest. Kind of goes hand in hand. But, hey, man, we got Ben Roethlisberger. That's all you need.
Again, you don't have Bapper or Ben. You don't have.
That ain't saying too much.
Exactly.
He's limping around.
He is limping around. But that's like I said, it may be a down year, but we'll be back. Give us a couple more years, and we'll be right back at the Super Bowl. Celebrating another championship.
Okay.
I think everybody in here shaking their head no.
Pretty much.
The Raiders go get a ring before the Steelers.
Oh
gosh,
man. One thing I will say about the Raiders real quick, Terrell Pryor, man, I didn't know what to expect for him, man, but he's not doing too bad considering it's his first year. Not doing too bad. What do you guys think?
I think actually he's doing a fantastic job considering because the Raiders haven't had a good quarterback since Rich Gannon.
Yep.
When they went to the Super Bowl, and they've had Carson Palmer, who isn't that great of a quarterback, but is doing a decent job at Arizona, and just a plethora of guys that are either no longer in the league or sitting back up somewhere. So I think considering what he is facing, because the Raiders, terrible organization, he's doing a pretty good job.
And I think that's the biggest issue, the organization.
Yeah, I mean, Al Davis isn't there anymore, so hopefully you'll see them on the upswing. But, I mean, what can you expect from a team that year in and year out wins about 5 or 6 games each season?
The same thing you can expect from the Cowboys.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, we went 8-8 the past 2 seasons. We had a chance to make it to the playoffs. What happened to the Eagles last year?
Oh.
I told you I'm a Mike Vick fan.
Shots fired.
Oakland is my team.
Oakland is your team. Well, Oakland would be at home, too.
I will say Mike Vick got me 33 fantasy points last week, so.
All right, man. We'll go ahead and get into tonight's sets with Jason. Michael Cantone is on the phone. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Oh, hey, Jason. I'm doing fine. How are you?
That's Jay Real, but yeah, I'm doing all right, man. Go ahead, Jason.
Good.
So my man Michael Cantone, if the name sounds a little familiar to you, it's because he ran for mayor a couple of years ago. He was the one that was busting caps in Mayor Dyer anytime we went to a debate, man. He held his feet to the fire. He was a fantastic candidate. He's also a political activist here in Orange County. And I wanted to talk to him about, I don't know, some of the maybe malfeasance going on with Orlando city politics, Orange County city politics, from Texgate all the way up to the eminent domain vote for the land deal for the potential soccer stadium. So he has immersed himself within this fight. He is fighting against gentrification in Paramore and the Creative Village. So he is someone who can really give us some pretty good insight as to what's happening in the city of Orlando and the county of Orange. But what I wanted to start with, Mike, is you and I talked about this a little bit earlier today, but the Orlando City Commission, along with the mayor, they will receive a 21% pay increase. Now, on the heels of the news that Orlando ranks last in median income in the nation's 50 out of the nation's 50 largest metropolitan cities, Orlando's last in median income, basically. So what does this say about the city's political leadership?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for that great intro. And there's always something with the city council here in Orlando, it seems like. And this is a pretty brazen move by them, considering, like you said, recent reports puts Orlando dead last across the entire country. And actually, I believe the average annual income in Orlando is only around $29,450 a year, meaning the mayor is going to take a larger raise than most of his citizens actually make in an entire year, which I think is a pretty big abuse of the taxpayers' money.
I absolutely agree. Now, let me play devil's advocate for a minute. Now, the commission, they haven't bumped their pay up since 2007. They didn't take a pay raise in 2008 or 2009. And the mayor saw a 2% cut in his salary in 2009. Now, if the city's doing so well financially, according to Dyer, shouldn't they deserve some type of pay bump? They make 46 now, and they're bumping themselves up to 60 now. Is that such a bad thing?
Well, I mean, and actually when I ran for mayor, remember, I actually campaigned very heavily on the fact that I would have cut the pay of the mayor over $50,000 in a pay cut to average back out with more consistency of what our community's making. And again, the financial situation of the city of Orlando is anything but fine. We're seeing many positions across the city that go unfilled because of the lack of budget dollars. We're seeing that our budget at the city level has been maxed out for 2 years in a row. And this is really jeopardizing our future financial health of the city. So I would still look around and say that our elected officials owe it to the people of our city to be stewards of their tax dollars and to do what's right. And they all ran for office knowing that. And I would also challenge how many people across Orlando have seen 21% raises, even if they haven't gotten a raise in the past year or two.
That's a good point. Wish I could get a 21% raise.
Amen.
Now, the big thing that I wanted to talk to you about was soccer. Supposedly, the Orlando City Lions had 20,000 fans in the stadium when they won, the USL Pro Championship. minor league, but albeit they did win the chip. They brought a trophy to Orlando. Now, there was this big photo op downtown where the city commission and the mayor took a picture with the trophy and some of the players. But what I really want to talk about, without getting into the semantics, I guess you can say, of the deal, tell me more about what's going on with Orlando City Soccer.
Yeah, no, first of all, I just want to start by saying, as a kid growing up, I mean, just like you, I love sports. I've played almost every single sport my whole life. I love soccer. I played it as a child. But my big problem is I get distressed with the public cost and the commitment coming from the city and county level in this private deal. Mm-hmm. When I drive through Paramore over potholed roads, I clearly see a need for better housing options, better schools, and more public transportation, not another $100 million stadium right there in our most vulnerable and one of our poorest neighborhoods in the city. Mm-hmm. And again, I think we need to look at the soccer situation in a larger picture scope. The Orlando City soccer team, I think they're a great part of our community. I hope they stay. I do not support publicly financing a stadium for their private gain. And let's look at their track record. They left Austin. You probably know this better than most, but they left the city of Austin just 2 or 3 years ago because Austin refused to fund a stadium for this team. And as I've questioned Mayor Jacobs and many of the county commissioners, is this team really committed to Orlando, or are they ready to pack their bags and look for the next city if we don't build them this $100 million stadium? That doesn't really seem like a true community partner.
Now, I mean, sticking with soccer, I've seen, just a number of articles that have stated, the economic impact that this new stadium would bring to the city, new jobs, all this money that's going to flow in. But we're talking about an MLS team, a Major League Soccer team, not an NBA team, not an NFL team. Can you talk a little bit about the numbers that you've seen and if this is truly going to have an economic impact? And if so, is it something that city residents can get behind?
Jason, to put it plainly, if Major League Soccer was profitable and a secure bet for an investment, these owners and their own private investment teams would have already built this stadium. The reality is Major League Soccer has struggled since its conception. I believe in 2010, only 2 or 3 teams were profitable. Last year, only 1/3 of all teams in the Major League Soccer were profitable. And just to put some perspective on some of the misrepresentations we've heard from Mayor Jacobs and some of the team officials, they'll tout how widely supported and viewed World Cup soccer games are. But I would point out that in reality, the World Series of Poker, a rerun of the World Series of Poker, got higher TV ratings than the Major League Soccer championship game last year.
Wow.
And I believe you know about NFL TV deals and the revenue structures of most professional sports. With Major League Soccer, we're talking a very small number of revenue coming from TV contracts in the millions and spread out across the entire league. Each team's making just a handful of money off of these TV deals, and that's part of the problem. We've seen here in Orlando, despite the hoopla about the attendance numbers for the championship game, we know thousands of tickets were given out free. Mm-hmm. We know that the soccer team inflated all of their attendance numbers for every single game this past season, which helped them gain this title of record attendance for the USL League. So we do see that there's been some fudging of numbers, and that's another thing I push back to our elected officials is most people don't want to enter into a $100 million deal with long-term ramifications with a party that hasn't been upfront and honest about the numbers of their sport. And that's what we're seeing here from the Orlando City soccer team.
Now, what does this mean for Paramore? Because, supposedly, already the city has bought 21 parcels of land along Church Street, and they had the eminent domain vote on Monday as they're trying to get ready to, they're preparing themselves to push the owners out, I guess you can say, to purchase those last 2 parcels. What will this mean for the city of Paramore, a city that struggled financially, a city that we've seen, I guess for lack of a better word, has decrepit housing, just has major issues. What do you think this means for Paramore?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this means the end of Paramore, I believe, the beginning of the end. The soccer stadium is obviously a crucial piece to Buddy Dyer's plan to gentrify the entire neighborhood. It's been ongoing for years. And we see that with the Stop Creative Village campaign that we've also launched in Paramore, trying to educate the community about why luxury housing and big insider development deals do not benefit the community. And that's honestly what we're seeing here. We've seen a systematic policy put in place by city leaders to leave Paramore run down, to refuse to rebuild the infrastructure, to provide the affordable housing that's missing. At one point, just a few years ago, there were over 18,000 residents in Paramore. Today, we might have 5,000.
Wow.
So the displacement is real. It is occurring. And again, I questioned, you started the show with the mayor trying to raise his salary to $195,000 a year. Put that in contrast to the average household income in Paramore, which is under $13,000 a year. This is the disparity that we're seeing across Orlando. This is what I think exemplifies how out of touch the policies, the priorities of Buddy Dyer and this city council really continue to be.
Talk a little bit more about Creative Village. I know you've been on the forefront of fighting against gentrification in Paramore and basically fighting against the creation of Creative Village. Tell me where that fight stands and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, we're actually very optimistic. We've received great support from the community. We actually launched a Stop Creative Village Save Paramore hotline where folks from the community can call in, can vent their concerns, can alert our teams about key issues that are going unnoticed by the city. And that's really helping us ramp up our organization ahead. As you know, Creative Village continues to stall. The city of Orlando cannot find tenants to bankroll this. And that's another problem with our city finances, because right now the city is sitting on top of this vacant, empty land that they demolished the old Amway Arena, and no one's paying property taxes. Grounds are being maintained and upkept by the city. And again, the plans here are not to build more affordable housing to support local small businesses. It's to build luxury housing units with an average starting renting price of $1,500 a month for those luxury units. Contrast that again, the average income in that neighborhood right now is $330 a month. So this is really out of place, and when you actually hear the mayor speak about it, he says that he's very honest and open that he's trying to build another College Park, as he put it. And as we talk to many residents in Paramore and a lot of actually residents of Orlando who have been here for 10 or 20 years or longer, they clearly will tell you this is not what they wanted. This is not what they've been promised over the past decade, with promises of affordable housing, a community school for the Paramore residents, and for better public safety options. Instead, the priority is going to overdevelopment and displacement of the current residents.
Some of that information just kind of leaves you speechless when you listen to it.
It does. I got to tell you,
it
I've learned a lot more than even I knew and saw as a candidate for mayor, and it honestly troubles me even more the more I dig into these issues. It does look like a systematic policy that's been in place for years, and it's similar to the pay raise issue. This city council seems very blatant in their actions and very brazen right now, trying to just ram through their priorities and kick those benefits to their supporters and their corporate donors.
I'll say this. There were two city commissioners who voted against the pay raise. It was Robert Stewart and Tony Ortiz actually said no.
Yep.
Daisy Lynham had an interesting comment about the pay raise. She said that, not necessarily saying that she's for it, she said she just wanted to support her county or her city commissioners because she didn't want to stand in the way. So
yeah,
I thought that was pretty. I thought that was pretty interesting comment coming from someone who's supposed to be a leader in the community of Paramore. So, I mean, Mike, to get you out of here on this one, man, you've given us a lot of good information tonight about Orlando City Soccer. At the eminent domain vote on Monday. The funding deal is coming up here pretty soon. Tell the audience who's listening, where can they go to find out more information about this? And not only that, if they're interested in getting involved with trying to stop this deal and trying to stop the gentrification of Paramore, tell them where they can go.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And there's a few options. One, as I said, our Save Paramore hotline. anyone can call in. I'll just real quickly put that number out there if that's okay. It's
Sure.
407-476-1352. That will allow us to follow back up with anyone, follow up with any issues. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter under the Fight Back Coalition. This is a group that we're putting together of local residents here in Orlando who, as the name says, are ready to fight back against these destructive policies and really, more importantly, fight for the promises and the guarantees that have been made to this community before we go embarking in new overdevelopment deals and multi-million-dollar projects. So we're very active online. We're trying to get more active with the phone games. We hold many community fish fries, so again, find us online so you can find up our next upcoming event. And more importantly, as you said, this last Monday there was actually no one in the attendance for public comments. That's why this city council is able to slip that pay raise right through to line it up for the vote this upcoming Monday. Same thing with the eminent domain. Our neighbors, our fellow residents, our brothers and sisters, they need us to stand up with them. And that's what we're trying to encourage as many people as possible to do, to reach out to your city officials, reach out to your county officials. You'll find myself and many others of our team at these public meetings. So if it's your first time, just find us. We'll help walk you through the system, through the process, and get you involved, because that's what's most important. I'm out there every day trying to make sure more and more people of Orlando are standing up, getting engaged with their community so we can make a difference.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us, man. I do have one last quick question for you.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
do you think there's so much apathy surrounding Paramore? Why do you think no one showed up for the vote? Why do you think we have so many issues with trying to get people involved and stopping some of the things that are tearing apart their community?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up here at the end. It's one of the more troubling points to my activism. I've been active in politics for over a decade, worked everywhere from Capitol Hill to the local community organization, knocking on doors. And honestly, here in Central Florida, I've seen the most apathy. I've seen people disengage, and I think part of it is we have an elected official base that does not do the proper outreach to the public. But what we find as we go door to door in Paramore, it almost breaks my heart, is residents are just really feeling beat up, run down. They've been lied to year after year after year. I point out to a lot of people, and they mentioned to me, Buddy Dyer's first speech as mayor, he laid out one of his top 3 priorities was said, judge my legacy on the success of Paramore. And that was back in 2004. So, look, 10 years later, median income has actually gone down. A majority of residents live in poverty. There's vacant lots throughout their neighborhood. I can understand their frustration. I can understand their struggle. And that's why we're trying to lend that extra helping hand. We're trying to be that burst of energy and hope that this community hasn't seen in such a long time. But I think it's tied to lack of outreach, lack of accountability from our public officials, and again, just a decade of broken promises that will beat down any struggling community, but especially our most vulnerable. And that's what's disappointing about this entire situation.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks again for joining us, man. We really appreciate the information that you were able to give out to us. And, yeah, man, we'll be talking soon.
All right. Yeah, and thank you for the time. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Thank you.
So Michael Cantone, former mayoral candidate, Orange County political activist. You can find him on Twitter at Mike Cantone, MikeCantone, as he is fighting against the gentrification of the community of Paramore.
Yeah, one I had a comment you talked about. He said how Buddy Dyer talked about Paramore being a success. I think in his mind, if he can get this deal done and bring that soccer stadium,
absolutely,
that is the success.
Yeah,
the success is not bringing the people up. The success is improving it.
That's absolutely
and
right.
So,
if he can gentrify it, if he can some kind of way get Creative Village off the ground, if he can bring this soccer stadium to fruition, then yeah, that's absolutely his success.
That's his success.
Yeah, our success is defined differently than his, because I mean, if what he said, that $330 is what the individuals in Paramore usually make per month, then I mean, because in my mind we're thinking, all right, well, we have a city commissioner that is supposed to be the proxy for the voters in that community. You have a mayor who's supposed to be the proxy for the voters in that community. And so far, we've just seen, just a lack of leadership. We've seen, and that's not pinpointing on anyone in particular, but we've seen a lack of leadership, as it pertains to Paramore. And, for him to make that type of statement 10 years ago, and now we're seeing, what his, I guess, definition of success means, and you contrast that to what the definition of success means to maybe even the individuals in this room or the people of that community. What are we going to do to say something about it? What are we going to do to stop it? What are we going to do? Because if we're not showing up to city council meetings or city commission meetings, why should they care?
They have no reason to care. No reason to care.
Absolutely.
Nah, I tell you what's funny. Why? Not why, but it's just funny. You got a white dude fighting for cross town. You feel what I'm saying? Fighting hard for cross town, and you don't really see none of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it's sad. I mean, I'm glad he's doing it, but it's like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, you know what? I met Mike on the campaign trail. I was downtown at an event, and I saw this guy that was, talking about he was going to run for mayor, a young guy my age. And, he just talked about some of the issues that we all think about or that we talk about maybe around the water cooler or whatever it may be. Because sometimes, we don't want to be the individual to step on somebody's toes. You don't want to be the person that's going to call Mayor Dyer out on some of the things that he said because Mayor Dyer may be able to do something for you in the future.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And, he just didn't have that fear. And that's one of the things that I admired about him. Whether you disagree with him, whether you agree with what he has to say or not, he at least has the strength to step up and say, you know what, no, man, this isn't right. 21 parcels of land in Paramore along Church Street, 21 parcels. Eminent domain vote this last Monday where they're going to purchase the last 2 parcels. And, we're going to build a $80 to $95 million soccer complex. And
nobody watches soccer.
Nobody watches soccer.
Right.
Especially the people in that
the stadium is going to be half empty. I can guarantee you the economic impact that some of the economists are saying are probably coming from those who want the stadium here.
Right.
And it's just not going to be it's not going to have the type of impact. I can guarantee you this. The Florida Classic will probably have a larger economic impact on the city of Orlando than MLS soccer team. Not saying that you're dissing the team or that you don't want them here, but why can't they play in the Citrus Bowl? Why can't they're spending almost $200 million to renovate that? Why can't you play in the Citrus Bowl instead of building a whole new bowl? But it goes to what you said. His success of Paramore is different than ours. He wants to gentrify it.
You could just take that money and revamp the Citrus Bowl.
Absolutely.
And that way you can really draw. I mean, I've heard chatter of people talking about possibly trying to draw a Super Bowl here.
Yeah.
You're not doing it with the Citrus Bowl.
No, not that one.
You know what I'm saying?
Not that one. Absolutely not that one.
Exactly.
So,
But it would be a perfect place if we had the facility to bring in a Super Bowl. It would be an awesome place to have one.
I absolutely agree with that. Tampa's hosted it. Miami's
Miami,
hosted it.
Yeah.
Orlando has the weather. We have the environment. The tourism factor is here.
Yep.
But don't put that in Dyer's head.
Uh-oh.
He hears that, he's going to try to make it happen.
He's like, oh, wait a minute.
I didn't think about that one. Maybe we should scrap the soccer deal. Yeah.
We don't need $100 million to revamp the Super Bowl. We need $300.
I mean, even more bowl games could come for college football. I mean, just the Citrus Bowl. What's wrong?
I just think this is a time for us. There's a microscope on Paramore now. And, this is our time, I guess, to make a move on it. Because, he said that Creative Village is stalling. It's not coming to what they thought it would be. The city deal, I mean, the mayor tried to go up to, Tallahassee to try to, broker a deal to get money for it, and it failed. They turned him away. But so they did the same thing to Stephen Ross, who's the owner of the Miami Dolphins, who's trying to get a new stadium.
Right.
So, we always have moments in time, or we always have moments in time where, we can try to, make some type of difference. And maybe this is that slither in time where, we can step up and say, this isn't what we want for that community. Understanding that, some of this money is going to come from the Orange County tourism tax, but we don't want privately funded deals, to come and tear apart this community. And honestly, I forgot to even, ask Mike about what's happening with the Orlando Magic Entertainment Complex, where they're going to tear down the current police station and build a new one. Yeah. But until that new one is finished, Orlando City Police, they're going to have to pay rent to the Orlando Magic, $100,000 per year. So until the new this is what's happening in the city of Orlando. These are the type of deals that are going on that we're not necessarily paying attention to.
Big business, man. It's crazy.
It's big
insane
business.
what's happening, man.
Yeah.
They just pass money from one guy's hand to the next
another,
guy's
yeah.
hand. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But, I've actually heard a lot of this stuff being in the workings as far as I've heard people say they already got plans to go from Orange Avenue all the way down to the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's already in the works.
The entertainment complex was in the works 10 years ago.
Exactly.
So, I mean, a lot of the things that we're seeing now, they've been talking about this stuff for 15 years.
Right.
So just think about what they're drawing up now, what other community they may be about to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
So in 10 to 15 years, when I'm older and you're older and everybody in this room is older, we're saying, oh, okay. So this is some of the stuff that when we were sitting in this room talking on the radio about the city soccer deal, they were talking about tearing up Orange Avenue.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, a lot of this stuff is already in the works.
You knew something was going on when they started putting them apartment complexes up on Paramore. When I started seeing that, I was like, they up to something.
Isn't right, yeah.
They up to something because nobody's been down here and cared nothing about it. It looked bad. Nobody fixed no roads. All of a sudden, all this new development, I was like, something's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Gentrification isn't always a bad thing. It can, boost certain communities financially.
Right.
But when you're trying to just, tear away the foundation of what Paramore is to the city of Orlando, that's bad gentrification. And that seems to me what, Mayor Dyer and some of his private donors are trying to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me,
Jason.
man. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man.
Thank you.
Well, that's deep what they're doing in the center of Orlando. There was another article before we get to our second topic tonight. Did you guys read the article about the young man in North Carolina, former FAMU student anyway? I don't think he graduated, but got shot by the police just trying to tell somebody about his accident.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the night, but because he went, apparently the story goes, he got into his accident, then he had to walk, I think about a half mile, they say, before he found a house, knocked on some random house. It was dark. It was in the middle of the night. The lady apparently got scared because, she looked out the window and there's this black guy not banging on a door that she doesn't know. So she called the police, and the police came. And then when he saw them, they say he started running towards the police, obviously looking for help. And in the process, apparently they told him to stop. I don't know if there was miscommunication, whatever the case may be, but they tasered him first. He was a big guy, so the tasing didn't work. So the next thing they did, of course, is they started firing shots.
10.
And then so they fired off 10 shots, and of course the end result is the young man's death, when at the end of the day, all he was trying to do was ask for some help.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Terrible.
Crazy. North Carolina. Hey, man, you can't be in the middle of the night, though.
I mean, but what?
You can't.
What do we do?
Why do you have to walk around so scared to do anything?
What do
as
I don't
an
know. I don't call it
African-American? That's just
scared.
so
I call
ridiculous.
it realistic.
Well,
But why is that reality? Like, why is that even something to consider, that I can't get help
Because you
in the middle of the night if I'm in an accident? Don't I have rights
you do
as a
have
human
rights.
being
You have rights
to be
as a
able to
human, but
get
you gotta,
help?
You got to be careful.
But can't get.
That's crazy.
You got to be careful. No black man should ever run towards any police officer, period.
Okay.
Okay?
nah, I got
mistake.
it. I just got to agree with him. That's the truth.
That's the truth.
I got to agree with him.
You do not run towards the police.
Because
Help
now,
us not.
hold on. We're not talking about. Hold on. Before you
You don't
speak,
do
Brother
that.
King, we all know what their mindset is going to be if we just take off and start running toward them. So
Now, from my personal experience, when I was in a situation like that, he told me, "Hey, don't charge my car," and that was the end of it. It was no tasing, it was no shooting.
I understand.
And I have it on camera. He was like, "Don't charge my car," and I'm like, "I'm walking towards you," but and that was the end of it. I don't understand how it goes from I'm walking or either jogging or pacing towards your car, and then you got to tase me. Something happened in between that. It had to be some kind of missing communication. Maybe he was a little, like, hey, y'all need to calm down. I don't know. But it shouldn't have been no tasing and no shooting.
Well,
now,
I agree. They overreacted, brother.
Something's up with that.
Here's the thing. If you saw the pictures of his vehicle, the man was in a terrible accident. So I'm thinking he's he's delusional. He's just survived this crash. Like, he's looking for help. We don't know exact shock. We don't know if he had any injuries because of that, if he hit his head. So he's like, I just need some help. Please, somebody, bang, bang, bang.
One thing a black man should never do.
But why are you thinking of that when you're trying to save your own life?
So just lay on the side of your car and die.
Just stay there. Just stay.
As a black man, you cannot get help in the middle of the night.
Police every time I drive my car. I ain't speeding, and I'm thinking about the police car that just rolled behind me, because they are the. I'm not saying that every policeman is bad, and you can't trust the police. I'm not saying that by any means, but I'm saying, as a black man in America, life has taught me that there's a certain way I need to make sure I behave in the presence of police officers. I don't need to do anything that is going to be considered in any way, shape, or form hostile. Period. And I'm sorry, you said that's wrong, and you're right. Nobody should live like that. But life has taught you that.
You're in a car accident. Like, the man, I don't understand that.
As they said after the fact, they said all we knew is the lady had called about a black man banging on her door, and we answered the call.
And that was
again hostile. You can't do it.
That's a problem. They didn't come to diffuse the situation. They didn't come to see what was happening.
All they did is they responded to a 911 call where white lady called, said a black man is banging on my door. It's 2:00 in the morning.
Guns drawn right there.
Hey.
I mean, but you know what? If I know for me, if I was a cop, I'd be trigger happy. I'm just gonna be real, because how many times? I'm serious. How many times do you see a cop that's shot just for pulling somebody over for speeding?
Yeah.
Understanding that's probably a small, portion of what we hear, but I mean, if it's dark, if it's in the middle of the night, someone's called 911. Not saying that what he did was justified, because obviously it wasn't, because he was charged. But
yeah, he did get charged.
Yeah, he was charged. But if somebody, I'm not sure how I would react in that situation. And it's in the middle of the night. You hear, because certain cops, black or white, you hear there's a black guy knocking on somebody's door in the middle of the night. You may go expecting trouble. So you may have, like you said, you may have already had your gun drawn. I'm just not sure how I would react to it. I think it was a really sad situation.
It is,
but you would hope that if it's a police officer that would have certain training not to react. Because I'm looking at this. Yes.
Unfortunately.
10 times. Not a warning shot.
Life has taught us that
not try to hit his arm
and leg so he can fall.
Yeah.
Especially in North Carolina. Come on. It's not
I mean, that's all I was just going to say. Y'all got to be leery where you're at sometimes.
That's just.
I mean, I think that goes to your experience, though. Sometimes, for black folk, your experience determines how you react to certain situations. It's just like when you get pulled over, you automatically put your both hands on the wheel.
I know.
So
I
I
do.
mean, yeah.
I know I do.
Yeah.
Oh
So I mean, it's sad. That's it's really, really sad that we've had two tragedies now. On the heels of Trayvon Martin. So obviously everybody has maybe an overt emotional reaction to it, and now we have this guy. And FAMU, just again another FAMU tragedy, I guess you can say.
Jesus.
It's just a sad situation.
And then I try to put myself in the woman's position. Like, if I'm home by myself and her baby was in the carriage, if somebody's knocking on my door, of course, wait, what is happening? I'm gonna call the cops. Hey, somebody's outside. I don't know what's going on. We don't know if he was actually yelling for help. Like, that's not listed in any article. It's just that she heard a noise, she called the cops, hit her panic button on her alarm, which then brought the cops out. But so I see on that side, as a single woman or a woman by myself, I'm going to feel some type of way in the middle of the night. I get it. But then as the cops, it's like, come prepared for something to happen, but then try to diffuse the situation.
Because if he really was trying to break and entering, he would have buzzed the door down.
Right.
I mean, he wouldn't have been knocking like it. He's trying to sell newspapers. He would really.
What I don't understand is how they went from tasing to shooting.
It's
And this man didn't have no
times.
weapon. He didn't have no gun. He was in an accident. The car had to be somewhere close. How you go from tasing somebody to shooting? That's what I don't understand.
At the end of the day, it's fear.
Man.
That's what it is. It's fear.
It was only one cop?
I don't
was
know.
3.
I'm just saying.
So what they scared of?
3 of them.
Who knows? I mean, they
man.
exactly. I mean,
black man.
that's just what they scared of.
That's what they scared of.
Kanye
That's
say,
the saddest part about
So you
it.
said,
I'm not going to say what Kanye said.
Gospel
He's gonna-
1680.
Right.
That's exactly what they scared of. A black man running down the street.
The black man. That's what it is. We don't stick to the black man.
Man. That's.
Yeah, man. But that is a sad story that happened. Read about that the other day. But yeah, man. Got to be careful out there, man. I'm telling you, it's hard out there for a brother.
What do you do? What do you do though? Should he have just stayed on the side of the road until
I tell you what, you don't.
Somebody
do.
found him.
You don't.
You know what?
Charge their car.
Unless he was hurt. Yes, exactly what you got to do.
But we don't know. He probably was hurt. We don't know what this situation was. The pictures of the car
He was running
awful.
down the street. He couldn't have been hurt that bad.
But we don't know how fast he was
about
running.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You really just don't know what all the details were.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, we're guessing and we're trying to be logical what we would do. I mean, honestly, personally, I probably would have sat there, just stayed there. I mean, if I wasn't hurt too bad, I would just sat there, maybe try to flag a car down or at least wait till some daylight. But me personally, I'm not walking through North Carolina.
But if the police are coming, why am I running toward the car? They coming to me anyway. That's what I don't understand. So that's what it's like. I don't understand.
I mean, have you ever needed a car? Well, if I need help, I'm trying to flag anybody. I'm running towards you.
But they're coming toward you. You're the only black person on the street, so they coming at you, guaranteed. Why are you running to them? That's what I'm not understanding. They coming to you. Why am I running to you? I ain't never seen a black man run to the police.
But that alone should have been.
I seen him run from the police. Never seen him run to the police though.
But see, for them, to the cops. Okay, like you just said, if he's a crook, wouldn't he be running away from the cops?
It don't matter.
And not running towards the cops.
As I said, fear.
It's fear, man.
Oh my
God.
What the police scared
of?
Man. It's 3 police. What we scared of? We got guns.
And once again, 10 times.
Just because they got guns don't mean they ain't scared.
We tased them too.
10 times they
that
shot
don't mean they ain't scared.
I don't understand.
I mean, y'all got to understand, most of the people that join the police force, they not all ex-military. Some of them guys that was in school getting bullied, you know, and a lot of them still carry all that baggage, just like everybody else carry around baggage. They carry all that baggage with them in the police force. And they pull over. That's the dude that you hit me in high school. You know what I'm saying? He looked just like him. And now they terrified out their mind. They got the gun and everything. You ever seen them walk up to the car and they be...
Yeah. They're like Jimmy's best friends, best friend George Zimmerman, and wannabe cop. Like, I imagine that if he...
Wow, that's all I'm saying.
That's your buddy, right?
You got new best friends, huh?
Wow. George Zimmerman is my best friend.
I mean, you know, you like to hear about what's happening in his life. But if you imagine that because he applied to be in the police academy a couple of times, right? If he would have actually become a cop, could you imagine?
He would have shot 3 or 4 people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's that guy. So I feel you when you say there's some cops out there that are just like, I'm a big bad cop. I can shoot you if I want to. Bang.
My best friend.
That's your buddy.
Let me move on for now. Before we talk about Miss McCrae's best friend. But that's all right, Miss McCrae. I'm going to leave you alone, Miss McCrae. 407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680 is the number. I had put a question out on Facebook tonight, and Mr. King told me he put it out on his Facebook as well. But I kind of just want to have a quick discussion with the panel, and we encourage the listeners to join in. But that question is having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were talking about the church and a particular job that they were doing, or I guess being asked to do at the church. And one of the comments they made, they said, well, I don't mind doing it, but if I'm going to do it, I need to get paid like the industry pays people. And you know, this is a question that I've always had personally. I'm old school. I am old school when it comes to church. Grew up Okoji, you know, back in the day when women couldn't wear pants. Old school.
No earrings.
Yeah,
old school. They looked at you crazy, like, oh my gosh, you got on pants.
Yeah, for real, yeah.
You know, I'm old school. So when I think about, you know, the church, and then the idea that, you know, a lot of people in church get paid to do certain jobs these days, and paid well sometimes as well. And I think about the concept of it. I say, well, okay, I get that if you have a particular skill, you know, maybe if, you know, you're spending your time to do something, but whatever happened to just volunteering your time to the church, you know? Whatever happened to just saying, I'm going to do this not because I'm getting paid, but because, everybody can't minister, everybody can't pray, right? So maybe your task is you can play drums or whatever the case may be. So that's what you do, and then you do it. Why does it need to have a monetary value attached to it? Why is it that you got to leave X church because they was only paying $100, but Y church over here they pay $200, so I'm going over there. like what is that? Like when did the church become about getting paid and then the highest bidder wins? When did that happen? 407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680. I'm just curious, Mr. King. What's your comment?
Well, from what I've noticed. And from what I've learned from family members that do play instruments and play for the churches, it became a gig. Right. And that's really what it became.
Yep.
Let's take it back. Really, when the church started outsourcing for ministers of music, that's when all of the, since you're going to come look for me, you're going to pay me what I want type thing. Right. And so if the church stopped getting their members because they wanted a better, choir, or they wanted a better sound in their church, so they start outsourcing for other musicians, and then the musicians were like, well, this is a gig for me, so you need to pay me X amount of dollars. Right. When I spoke to some people online on the social networks, a lot of them were saying that, I don't mind doing it for the kingdom because, God gave me the talent, so I don't mind using it for God. But then you also had some that said, well, hey, the pastor get paid, so I should get paid too. The pastor is ministering, and I'm the minister of music, so I should get paid just like the pastor get paid. So it's kind of a catch-22. I kind of do agree. The pastor is getting paid, and, you feel like, hey, this is my talent. I want to get paid for my talent also. But if you're not a member of the church, I don't agree, but then it's just a gig. You can go get a gig somewhere else that's not a church. But if you're a member of the church and you are a member before you started to become a minister of music, then, I agree that, hey, maybe you should be compensated. Maybe not no $500 like some of these keyboardists I know getting paid. Because the person on the keyboard be getting paid. I know that much. People on the keyboard get paid. They do a lot of work because they were saying, from what they were saying, I'm playing 80% of the service, which is true. But, it just depends. I really feel that the churches should have their members ministering through music versus outsourcing to people who just see it as a gig.
And I think that's the thing, the outsourcing portion of it. When you start outsourcing to get this particular thing better or this more happening so my church can be more attractive, obviously that person's going to have to be paid. And once he gets a check, everybody up under him is like, well, I play too. Where's mine? And then if you kind of know a little insight, there's kind of a pay scale. The organist gets a certain amount. The bass player, guitar player are in a little bunch. The drummers are in a little bunch. And when you have people who professional church musicians, because technically that's what they are, they do kind of go around looking for the highest bidder. And, to each his own. I'm not going to tell nobody how they can get their money. They're not stealing it. It's a check getting handed to them. But from that standpoint, I don't necessarily see a big problem with that. But like you said, when you have church members and you are a member of that church and you're being asked to do something, or even if you volunteer to do something and over a certain amount of time you start thinking you deserve a check, then I kind of think there's a problem in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some circumstances where, that there's a fine line. I mean, you have people that go and get toiletries for the church and then they bring the receipt back asking for, reimbursement. Like, seriously, nobody asked you to go get anything. So why you want to be paid back? I mean, that's just you offering those particular things for the church because you care about the church. You want everyone to have what they need, So I think you just have to, there is a very, very fine line, and there's a value of time with the money as well. When you say, okay, the pastor gets paid, I want to get paid. Well, the pastor spends, 40 to 60 hours a week talking to the members, going to visit, going to do other things in Bible study, at church, in all types of other events, and sometimes things after that. They can't work full-time jobs as well.
So does the minister of music, though. Everywhere the pastor's at, that keyboardist is right there playing.
Yeah, some churches. And that's what I don't necessarily see a problem with those people getting paid. because when they do, it's a lot of stuff that some of them do. You know, obviously, depending on what church you go to, how big the church is, more is required of others. But, you know, that can be a full-time job.
It can be, but I think when you compare the two,
Right,
I don't
exactly.
think it's necessarily the same
with you
amount
there. I
of
agree with
value
you
of time.
I think anytime you talk about money in the church, people get a little, because you're talking about money. You're talking. I mean, because you said it earlier, or you said it earlier about, you know, what happened to people wanting to volunteer in the churches opposed to getting paid. And then as soon as you bring up money, you know, some people will tell you, well, we really need you to continue this volunteer service because we don't have the money to take care of you right now.
Right.
But anytime you talk about money, I remember my wife and I visited a church in Orlando a few weeks ago. And the way we were invited, we were just in the Mall of Millennium. They came up to us and said, hey, why don't you come to our church? And I said, all right, cool, we'll come visit. And they spent, you know, the first portion of the service, not saying there's anything wrong with it, but they were saying how the pastor and the pastor's wife do not take a salary. And it was his birthday, and they wanted to be sure that the pastor was taken care of. So the first, 15, 20 minutes after praise and worship, was talking about, you know, how we need to take up an offering for this pastor, how we needed to do this and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, again, anytime you talk about money and anytime you beat people over the head with money, that's when, you know, individuals start to get a little bit uncomfortable. And, you know, for a first-time visitor, you're sitting there and you're just like, well, should I give anything? I haven't been fed spiritually by this man yet. And I feel compelled to give something because, you know, this is what we've been talking about. So, I mean, money is always a sensitive subject when it comes to the church.
Definitely. And you know, and the crazy thing is, you know, a lot of times when you talk about that money and the church comes to you and they say, you know, you may see whatever is happening in the service, you may see what you perceive the offering to be, but when they come to you and say, oh, you know, we don't have any money to be paying, blah, 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 and then it's like, oh, really? Well, okay, I'm done then. Like, really? You done? Like, because you can't get paid? Like, are you here for the service or are you just here for a check? Like, that's the thing that bothers me. Or, you know, kind of just rubs me the wrong way about the whole situation. You know, if the check stops, are you still willing to do that job? Are you still willing to play that organ, brother, when the check stops? Or you out? You out? Mr. King said he's not.
No, I did not say that. I was scratching.
Oh my God.
You know, that's where it comes into question for me. I mean, if you have a church that's going to volunteer and do stuff for you, because there's a lot of certainly churches doing very well in the city. And so perhaps they do extend a lot of love to some of their workers. But if the check stops, the work stops.
Well, see, that's the thing. If the church can afford to pay, then I feel that I don't play an instrument, so they should be compensated. But if the church cannot afford to pay it, then you should do it out of the love of your heart. Because, like I said, you should be a member already. So therefore, you should just be doing it just because, you know, hey, I have this ability from God, so why can't I use it for God? And that was the reason that you have the ability. So, you know, it has to stop being a gig, and you really have to do it from your heart. If the church can't afford it. But if the church can afford it, CTC. Cut the check.
Oh Let me ask you this, though. 407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680 is the number. Does it potentially, though, also take away from the service when you know that you have, we'll use a musician as an example, that you have this musician that's really only here to collect the check? And so you know once the check stops, he's gone. So whatever he is or isn't bringing to you is going to be cut off the moment that check. Does that take away, or does that potentially, taint, if you will, what's happening?
I would no. Well, because I mean, honestly, when you get in church, hopefully you ain't sitting there concentrating on the musician.
You may not
and what's going on with him. And then there's another aspect to that, whereas you may bring somebody in under one circumstance, but who says once he gets there, he's not convicted to some extent and say, you know what, well, I know they go through a tough time. I'm being fed here spiritually. Maybe he will stay. I mean, every situation is different. I'm just saying you don't know. I wouldn't want to just wrap everything up in one little thing. Now, I'm not saying most of them ain't leaving. I'm just saying it might be a few that might be willing, I
know several.
I know several. I know several as well. But I'm just saying, I would just never want to say, You don't know how people's lives get touched at certain moments. You know, that's
I
what
think
I'm saying.
With the trend that's going on now, I think that once they hit 18, they expect a check because they see that everybody else is getting paid. So they feel like, why I'm not getting paid? So let me go to a church that's going to pay me. I really feel that the foundation is gone. You know, the foundation was we just going to do it because this is a church I go to and I have this ability, so I'm going to do it. Now, once they get 18, it's like, I'm going to go find me a gig. And that's really what it becomes. And that's sad. I really feel that they miss out on a lot of blessings because they feel that it's a gig.
Yeah, I agree as well. A lot of them do miss a lot of blessings because of that.
Definitely.
And it's some. That's a sad thing. I know some anointed musicians. I'm talking about anointed. I mean, stuff that people good at just don't make sense that they're that good because you know they don't have that technical background that a lot of other musicians have, and they can play circles around these cats.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sad part of it.
But they chasing checks.
But they chasing checks.
Well, that's where their heart is.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. 407-894-1680. Miss McCray had a story she wanted to drop on us too before we get out of here. Go ahead, Miss McCray.
Just a quick rant on America and the racism. So Miss America, the first Indian American Miss America, was just crowned this weekend, and Twitter and social media folks blew up angry talking about she's not American. They called the girl a terrorist. They called her an Arab. It's all types of awful things. And it wasn't people of color, obviously. But really, can we stop with this? Because somebody got a little melanin in their skin, it's a problem, and they're not considered American. The girl was born in New York. I mean, she's American. She just is of Indian descent. They talked about, because our president's black, we have an Indian Miss America. Talking about America's going to hell.
We're losing the country.
We're losing the country.
What I don't understand
Miss
is
America does not have that much power. We are losing the country because she is
Indian American.
Visiting and taking pictures. Like, really?
She Indian American now, right? That's what I understand. Now didn't American
born in New York.
take this from Indians?
No.
No, they talking about
she's from middle
India.
Yeah.
She's from India.
Like her parents are from
Ain't that what
India.
Chris Columbus thought he was at when he came here?
Oh my God.
So didn't he take it from them still? I don't understand that. How they taking over America and we took it from them?
Not Native
Not
American.
Native American.
Oh, not Native American.
But even
He thought he was an
Indian.
Indian.
But even
Like
still,
from India.
everybody forgets that portion of history that the Europeans weren't the first people here.
They was
Absolutely.
the
That's the
original
point.
terrorists.
Yeah.
I seen a picture on Facebook that had like 4 Indians and they was holding their little tomahawks and they saying fighting terrorism since 1487.
Absolutely. But that was just my rant. I mean, we don't have time for me to really go into it. But really, y'all.
It's
really.
sad.
That's what they do.
Congrats to Nina. I don't want to mess up her name.
Don't mess up the last name.
Nina, Miss America.
Yes.
All right, man. We thank y'all for listening. Tune in next week. This is your host, Jay Real, signing off. You can follow us on Facebook, Real Family Talk. You can follow us on Twitter, Real Family Talk. The website, realfamilytalk.weebly.com.
WOKB, Winter Garden, Orlando.
It's Gospel 1680 WOKB. It's 10 o'clock p.m. J Real and Company. I've been in here showing out. I've been listening, fellas. I was jabbing with you, too. Listening. Y'all be careful now. Starting trouble. Listen, we going to get into some music.